Hello, my friends. Welcome to the World Meeting of Jesus Friends with Chico Xavier and his legacy. My name is Geraldo Lemos Neto, and I'm here from TV Saber Espiritismo in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, to do my speech on healing presence of Chico Xavier in our lives. I got to know Chico Xavier, and this was a very special for me moment 41 years ago in the city of Sao Paulo, Brazil, on October the 14th, 1981. And as you know, all my family from the city of Pedro Leopoldo has known Chico Xavier since the early 1900s. And we are going to talk about this relationship and this legacy. Chico Xavier was indeed a bridge between earth and heaven. He was born in Pedro Leopoldo, Brazil, on April the 2nd, 1910, in this very home. This home doesn't exist nowadays. It is now the Centro Espírita Luiz Gonzaga. But when I knew Chico Xavier and brought him this picture, he told me that he was born in the place that we saw just in front of this post in that window. And this house was also shared by my great great uncle, Eliseu Correia. And it was the place that Chico Xavier was born on earth. Here is a picture of the diary of Chico Xavier, where he wrote notes. And this was his very first book, the one that he made handmade by himself. Also, he illustrated it. It's called The First Book of Chico Xavier, in Portuguese, O Primeiro Livro de Chico Xavier. It is published by Vinha de Luz Editora. And some of the pictures that Chico Xavier gave us in all those years, pictures of his youth, before he knew Spiritism, and this one is when he was 17 years old, when he got to know Spiritism through a couple from Belo Horizonte, Brazil, Mr. Hermínio Perácio and his wife, Carmen Pena Perácio. After that time, he became the medium that we all love, the example of Jesus Christ on earth, with his mediumship and his devotion to charity and to love. This is a note from Chico Xavier's family when he lost his most close brother, José Xavier. It was the 21st of February 1939, and he wrote, "The Xavier family thank you in pledge the expression of affection they received from your friendship in the passing of José, and dedicated to my great grand great grand aunt, Adélia Machado de Figueiredo. She was 10 years older than Chico Xavier, and she was a spiritist before Chico Xavier was a spiritist. Here we see Chico Xavier in the 30s and in the 40s in Pedro Leopoldo, Brazil. One of the first images of his beloved mentor, Emmanuel. And now we can say that Chico Xavier was a living letter of Jesus Christ on earth. His letters also has lots of understanding, lots of comprehension, fraternity that he wrote towards everyone. In this one that he gave to my great grand aunt, Adelia, he wrote, "O Jesus, you who bore the crown of thorns on earth, help us to bear the crown of pain that you have reserved for us on earth." And here, letters that we can see from the 40s that he wrote to my great grand aunt, Adelia, that we see here just beside Chico Xavier. And her sister, Nair, which was the one that introduced me to Chico Xavier in 1981, is just behind. Here in this letter of October of 1937, the 9th of October, he wrote, "The sufferings that awaited me in the dark days on earth enabled me to understand the painful tears." He could so relate to all sufferings on earth. And now he completed the message. And only joy wants deep eternity. Sadness is the negative state of our thinking, and only the joy of fulfilled aspirations should constitute the positive state of our psychic board in the future, right? And here, on the 2nd of May of 1938, I saw this statement of Chico Xavier, two statements. "The earth offers me nothing more to the spirit than the clarity of some holy affections that I make a point of worshipping in the most intimate of my heart. With this single treasure, made up of dignified and pure friendships, I will await for the other life the object of all my dearest dreams and aspirations." Here we can see a cartoon that Chico Xavier sent to Adélia Machado on the 17th of September 1941. At that time, my great grand aunt was suffering with her youngest child, her youngest son. He was very ill, and after a while, he passed away, and she was suffering so much. And Chico Xavier was promising to visit both of them. He got to pass to the other world in 1941. And after that, in 42, the day 25th of October, Chico Xavier wrote to Adélia, and he stated, "First, I remember as a child listening to my mother say that Georgina had been her best friend in the circumstances of her life, that she would never forget the sublime bonds that bound them together." He is revealing here that my great grandmother, Georgina Cândida Machado, who was the mother of my grandmother, was the best friend of Chico Xavier's mother, Mrs. Maria de São João de Deus. we can see here my great-grandmother, Georgina, was her oldest child, my great aunt, Adelia, and also the saying of Chico Xavier in the same letter. And today I keep thinking about the divine plot of spiritual destinies. It's impossible for us to be just today's friends, and I believe our connections have wider and deeper roots in the eternal home of endless centuries. The homes of earth continued in the infinite, just as the homes of spirituality continue in this world. Here, of course, he is revealing all the connections that the people of Pedro Leopoldo, the families, and all of us have with him. And here is a postcard that he himself made, handmade, to Aunt Adelia, great Aunt Adelia. And it was after her son passing, William, and Chico Xavier collected this flower and dried it out from William's grave in the cemetery in Pedro Leopoldo and sent it to Aunt Adelia. Here in the March 28, 1943, we have two beautiful sayings in those letters. The first one, sincere friendship is the welcoming palm tree in the deserts of this world. In its shadow, the heart finds new strength to follow the journey. And the other one, the bitterest pains of this world pass like shadows. What will triumph over all is the glorious eternity of life. Let us have courage and go to Jesus. Always Chico Xavier was consoling her that she must have faith and strength in Jesus to surpass all the sufferings that she had with the passing of her youngest son, William. And here another letter of the June 8th, 1943, where Chico Xavier wrote, "Who gives us strength is God. Let us not be discouraged. The journey on earth is always a journey over thorns and sharp stones, but we are consoled to know that everything here is a simple passage. Life itself, beautiful and profound, is beyond, further high, where we will all meet one day." And here is a very interesting postcard that Chico Xavier sent her on the 18th of April, 1957. At the time, they were commemorating 100 years of Spiritism on Earth. As you all know, Spiritism came to light by Allan Kardec in Paris, France, on the 18th of April, 1857, with the publishing of the Book of the Spirits. And 100 years later, the Brazilian Post Office launched this stamp commemorating the date. And Chico Xavier sent this message to my grand aunt Adelia. To dear sister Adelia, blessed companion of our Spiritist Christian journey, to whose affection we owe so much, My affectionate hug for today's date. Very affectionately, Chico Xavier. Pedro Leopoldo, 18th of April, 1957. Here is a photograph with Chico Xavier with his dog Brinquinho, and that one was taken at the time that I had close relationship with him after the 1980s and 1990s. And this one is a letter that he wrote me regarding the first book of his psychography that I worked on to publish through the União Espírita Mineira, the Spiritist Federation of the state of Minas Gerais in Brazil. And the book was called Bastão de Arrimo, Bastion to Sustain, by the Spirit of William. Here we included all the 33 messages that my cousin William wrote through the hands of Chico Xavier, consoling his mother, Adília. And it is closed, this book, by the message that my grand-aunt Adília herself wrote through Chico Xavier after her passing. And this book was launched in the 1st of December 1984. We can see here familiars, relatives of mine, my great-grandmother, my great uncle Zeca, and other relatives, and some postcards that Chico Xavier sent them. Here, the second book was Apelos Cristãos, Christians' Appeals, by the Spirit of Bezerra de Menezes, that we reunited the messages that Dr. Bezerra wrote through all my relatives in those books, in this book, sorry. And the other one is the book Aceitação e Vida, which is written by a spirit of Margarida Soares, who was an aunt of my great-grandmother, and who had passed away in 1915 in the city of Santa Luzia, Minas Gerais. She was a very illuminated spirit, a very high spirit, and was a kind of mentor to all the Machado family through the hands of Chico Xavier since 1927 in Pedro Leopoldo. She wrote lots of messages, and we selected just the ones that could be understood to everyone. Here, our great aunt Zeca Machado, our family with Chico Xavier, Adília, Zeca, other relatives and friends, Nair, and Zeca Machado worked with Chico Xavier for 35 years in the Spiritist Center Luiz Gonzaga. And after that, Chico Xavier instructed him to found the first Spiritist Center that had the name of Sheila, the Spirit Center Sheila in Pedro Leopoldo, Brazil. The spirit of Sheila began to manifestate herself through one of the daughters of Tio Zeca Machado, our dearest Eliana. She was a teenager at that time, and in the 50s, and she began to receive Sheila, and after that, Chico instructed them to found the Spiritist Center Grupo Sheila. My great uncle Walter, to whom Chico Xavier dedicated so many beautiful letters. For instance, this one on August 15th, 1942, he wrote, "The world looks like an empowerment school. If we solve a certain problem, another one arises. If we overcome some pain, we must prepare ourselves for the ones that follow. We cannot forget courage and optimism." Always saying about courage, optimism, always instructing us all to be faithful and to forgive. This one also from the 15th of August, 1942, he wrote, "I usually go for a walk with solitude, one Sunday or another. The edge of the line, next to the waterfalls, is sometimes my casino. There are no ballerinas nor green cloth games, but there are dances of nature and games of light in the sky. The soul of people find wonders in the soul of things, and when we seek meditation, we discover new continents to our minds." And this is the place to where Chico Xavier is referring to, the waterfalls in Pedro Leopoldo. It is also the place that at the first time he talked to Emmanuel in 1931. Another letter, this time the 27th of September of 1942, where Chico Xavier wrote, "I have been waiting in my work for someone to come and talk to me. I always pray to God to allow me to achieve the happiness of talking to those who understand me." And he was very happy because at that time he found in Uncle Walter, one that he could relate to, and one person that he could trust. Here we see lots of postcards that Chico sent to my great aunt Nair, the one that would introduce me to Chico Xavier in 1981. And at that time, she was single yet, in the 30s, in Pedro Leopoldo. Here we can see her in Uberaba, accompanying Chico to his works of charity. Here we can see her in São Paulo, also accompanying Chico all the time that Chico was there. And here we can see letters and postcards that Chico Xavier sent her and her husband, my great uncle Silvio, when Chico Xavier visited the United States in 2 occasions, in the 1965 year and also in the 1966 year. This one is from New York on July 17th, 1965. This one is on the 2nd of August, 1965. This one is from Los Angeles on April 28th, 1966. Another one from New York, this time the 28th of May, 1966. This one is from Elon College, North Carolina, from where Chico wrote in June 14th, 1966, in English, in perfectly understandable English, to my great aunt Nair. And we can see here that he predicted that once upon a time that we will have that time where the Spiritism doctrine would be spread with its words in English. That's the letter, where also he referred to the publishing of his first book in English that took place on the May 17th, 1966 in New York Library in New York. Here it's for Adelia, my other great aunt, on July 6, 1966. And here Chico Xavier is back to São Paulo after 6 months in the States in 1966. We can see my great aunt Nair and the couple Galvez, Francisco and Nena Galvez, in their home in São Paulo, receiving Chico Xavier. And also we can see postcards to our dearest friend Neném Aluoto, that was the head of União Espírita Mineira for 33 years, the Spiritist Federation of the state of Minas Gerais. In both cards, he is talking about his works in the States. Here we can see our dearest Neném Aluoto with Chico Xavier in Uberaba, her family members, and another pictures of Chico Xavier by those times. And here we are going to talk about Chico Xavier in my own life. I got to know him, as I said, in 14th of October 1981 in the Centro Espírita União, in that place in São Paulo. And he is talking to my brother-in-law, Vivaldo, that lived with him and was the one responsible to the organization of all of Chico Xavier's books. We can see he also Nena Galvez, another dearest friend of Chico, and also our friends here in Belo Horizonte, is Noêmia Barbosa da Silva. We call her Nona, that also was the one that accompanied me to Uberaba in the first trips. Here, me with Chico talking about the Pomada Vovô Pedro ointment. And this letter of January 17th of 1983, he is telling that the Pomada Vovô Pedro, the Vovô Pedro ointment, is a set of natural resources associated with greater spirituality resources for the benefit of human health. There are days when there are so many canker sores in my mouth that it takes a lot of efforts to articulate the word. And in the pain they bring, Vovô Pedro ointment is still the best ingredient I have. And in this other part, he wrote, "And so I'm sailing. Thank Jesus, even though I'm carrying a whole arsenal of symptoms and organic deficiencies. I'm in my good mood, and I still manage to laugh at myself." Chico Xavier was a person of very good humor, and he was always treating all his sufferings and all his difficulties with very good humor. Here's a photograph of me alongside Chico and my cousin of my mother's, our dearest Wanda de Figueiredo Noronha, who had confronted with lots of difficulties in her health, and who was cured by Chico Xavier, because Chico Xavier received by the spirit of Dr. Bezerra de Menezes all the instructions to cure her illness. Here in Chico's house in Uberaba was Vivaldo, another one in São Paulo, Brazil, Centro Espírita União. Chico Xavier used to to make himself those kind of notes, little papers. This one was for Dona Lourdes in the 25th of December, 1983. Dona Lourdes was Eliana's and Vivaldo's mother. He used to stick flowers and messages and also drawings. Here is a picture of Mary, our Holy Mary, that he dedicated to me in 1984, with other images of him, of Emmanuel. And here is Chico Xavier in my home in Belo Horizonte on September of 1986. This was the date that my mother-in-law, the mother of Eliana, had a stroke and was at the hospital. I talked and already said about his visit to the Pronto-Cor Hospital in Belo Horizonte. In the DVD, the documentary Quando Lembro de Chico, that you can all see. And here, a photograph of Chico's home in Uberaba. Some of the pictures that we took with him there in 1987, our family. I always was helping Chico with the books, with the messages. And here, the books that we published through the União Espírita Mineira Publishing House, Roseirão de Luz, Rosary of Light, books of troves, of poems from various Brazilian trovadores. And here the commemoration of Vivaldo's birthday in Uberaba, the book Pétalas da Primavera, Lift Left of Springs, also published by União Espírita Mineira. And here, when Vivaldo published the general index of all messages psychographed by Chico Xavier, we had this party there in Uberaba. Here was the interview that Chico Xavier revealed to me that he had the compromise to psychograph 30 books. He came to psychograph 30 books, and then it was doubled to 60. And when he arrived in Uberaba, it was extended to 100. And in 1969, he received an order from Jesus himself to stay psychographing the messages from the spirituality until the latter days of his life. And so that he did it. As you can see, his home in Uberaba was a very humble home, very simple one. And some scenes of there. Another book that we published, The Fulgor no Entardecer, that it is a book dedicated to the people, the senior people. Here, Chico Xavier in Grupo Espírita da Prece in Uberaba, psychographing. And one of the last books we published when Chico Xavier was still here on earth is the book of Emmanuel, Migalha. Here we see our dearest friend Neném Aluoto, who was also a dear friend of Chico for 60 years. since 1943. And Chico used to send her every week a letter or a postcard or a telegram, as we can see here. Always very kind and very affectionate. In this one of March the 8th, 1959, we have the saying that we use in all meetings of Chico Xavier friends, where he wrote, "We are a large family dispersed in different sectors of work, with spiritism for our blessing of light. Today, each one of us remains in a particular field of struggle, but tomorrow we will all be reunited in real life, presenting the sum of the efforts that we carried out to discharge ourselves from the sacred duties with which we were graced." So our responsibility is at a high stake, right? Also, Chico used to send all his friends postcards at Christmas time, at Mother's Day, Father's Day, the birthdays of those ones, and he was a very kind person. And here we talk about the biography that we wrote through União Espírita Mineira, that was launched in 8th of July 1992, the date that Chico Xavier was commemorating 65 years of mediumship. In that book, we have the speech that Chico Xavier gave when he received the honorable title of citizenship of the city of Belo Horizonte in 1973. One day later, after that, he received the homage of the Spiritist of Belo Horizonte at the União Espírita Mineira. As we can see here, our dearest friend Neném Aluoto, our dear friend Martins Peralva, and everyone there, we can see by their faces and their smiles, they were all happy to see Chico Xavier. He gave roses to everyone. He attended everyone that were there. Here, Chico was Neném Aluoto and Martins Peralva. And Martins Peralva from the state of Sergipe that moved to Minas Gerais in 1957, became one of the very close friends of Chico Xavier. Here was Rolando Ramaciotti, the founder of Grupo Espírita Emmanuel, GM of São Paulo, also a publishing house of Chico Xavier, and other cards and photographs that Chico Xavier sent here when he completed 50 years of mediumship. In 1980, here we can see Neném Aluoto, Martins Peralva, Fontana, with Chico in Pedro Leopoldo, Dona Bia. Every year, Chico Xavier spent New Year's Eve in a home for elder people in his home city of Pedro Leopoldo. And everyone was very happy to be there. Here, when Pedro Leopoldo homage Chico Xavier on 15th of November, giving his name to the most important square of the city. And we can see here with the eyeglasses my great aunt Walter. Dona Neném was the mayor of Pedro Leopoldo. Here, Chico Xavier is receiving the Great Medal of Honor, Medalha de Inconfidência, from the state governor Francelino Pereira in 1981. And here, also in 1981, when the Spiritist Federation of State of Minas Gerais inaugurated the historical archives with the presence of Chico Xavier, Pedro Valente, Antonio Fontana, Martins Peralva, and many friends. Here in his home in Uberaba, with Dona Neném, Fontana. And here is the gospel at home that Chico Xavier used to do outside there in the Abacateiro. One of the last times Dona Neném visited Chico in the Grupo Espírita da Prece in Uberaba. And this is the book, the biography that we wrote around Chico Xavier's life. Chico Xavier, Mandato de Amor, Love Mandate, that has messages, all and photographs and also testimonies, all around the presence of Chico Xavier in the city of Belo Horizonte. And the day of that the book was ready to launch, Chico Xavier and me in Uberaba. And some of the pictures that are posted in this biography. Also, the family of Dona Silvia de Almeida Bastante from the city of Araxá. We published the book Presença de Chico Xavier em Araxá, Chico Xavier Presence in Araxá, at the Centro Espírita Caminheiros do Bem, Spiritist Center Caminheiros do Bem, where the Barsante family took their work with Spiritism. And here we are back to Pedro Leopoldo, the Fazenda Modelo, the Modelo farm where Chico Xavier worked and where the Joviano family lived. Here, Chico Xavier at work. He was a federal employee of the Ministry of Agriculture in that farm. Here are their companion there, their fellow workers, and his boss, Dr. Joviano, and his wife, Maria, and their family. And through the hands of Chico Xavier, by the Spirit of Emmanuel, we will be informed that the father of Dr. Rômulo Joviano, Professor Arthur Joviano, is the spirit of Neo Lúcio from the book 50 Years Later, and also is the spirit of Professor Jacques Duquesne Davenport from the book Renounce. Here are some pictures of the family, the Joviano family with Chico Xavier. They were very close together between the 30s until the 60s. And here is the table of reincarnations that we can see in the book 2,000 years ago, 50 years later, also in the 15th and 16th century in Spain, also the book Renounce, and also in the 20th century. The mentor, the spirited mentor of this family is the priest João de Deus Macário, which we are seeing here, that also wrote through Chico Xavier. And here, me and Banda Joviano, the daughter of the Dr. Rômulo Joviano, who worked side by side with Chico Xavier at the Fazenda Modelo, the Modelo farm, the very day that we inaugurated the Casa de Chico Xavier, the Chico Xavier home in Pedro Leopoldo. At that day also, she launched the first book of her grandfather, Neo Lúcio, that we published. She was also one of the directors of the Lar Espírita André Luiz, the Spiritist home André Luiz of the city of Petrópolis, Rio de Janeiro. And those messages that we published are inserted in those books, all from Neo Lúcio, Sementeira de Luz, Sowing of Light, Sementeira de Paz, Sowing of Peace, Colheita do Bem, Good Harvest, Pérolas de Sabedoria, Wisdom Pearls, Instruções para a Vida, Instructions for Life, all from the spirit of Neo Lúcio, and from the spirit of Emmanuel, Deus conosco, God with us, Iluminuras, Lightnings, and also Militares no Além, Military on Beyond, Militares com Jesus, Military with Jesus. And the last one, Depois da Travessia, After the Passing. Here we can see our dearest Wanda Joviano at the day that we published Colheita do Bem, Good Harvest, at the Casa de Chico Xavier in Pedro Leopoldo. She and Chico Xavier's youngest sister, our dearest Cidália, also here at the same date. And here, me in Petrópolis with another very dearest friend of Chico Xavier, our beloved Susana Maia Mouzinho, who was the founder of the home, Spiritist home André Luiz, Lar Espírita André Luiz of Petrópolis. And Chico revealed her that in other incarnations, all of them were sons of Chico. Here is a very interesting picture. We can see the painter Amaryllis Chaves painting Chico Xavier at work at the Grupo Espírita da Prece in Uberaba, the Spiritist group of prayer in Uberaba. Chico himself authorized her, and she painted 3 works. One of them is at the Casa de Chico Xavier in Pedro Leopoldo. And after that, in 29th of January 1978, he confirmed that the spirit that she saw was Emmanuel, the one in that beautiful painting. And Chico Xavier used to distribute this painting, this picture of the painting, to every one of his friends, as we can see here, to some of my relatives. Here is a picture of the Grupo Espírita da Prece in Uberaba, the Spiritist group of prayer. We can see Dr. Marlene Nobre in the table here. You can see that it was always crowded. Here, Dr. Marlene and her husband in São Paulo, while Chico is psychographing. Chico Xavier was a very good friend of theirs. They found the Folha Espírita de São Paulo, the Spiritist Review of São Paulo, Journal of São Paulo, and also all the medical associations throughout Brazil and the world. Her husband, Freitas Nobre, was a federal deputy, and one of the airports in São Paulo has his name. And here was Dr. Marlene Nobre, me, Fontana, Malabis, Ivanir, Weimar Muniz de Oliveira, in Paris, France, and the date of 200 years of Allan Kardec. Chico himself confirmed to me that he was the reincarnation of Allan Kardec, as we can see on those dedications. Our dearest Weimar Muniz de Oliveira from Goiânia, president of the Spiritist Federation of Goiás, wrote this book, A Volta de Allan Kardec, The Return of Allan Kardec, that was launched in the Casa de Chico Xavier in the April 2nd, 2006. As we can see here, lots of friends, Dr. Marlene Nobre, the author Weimar Muniz de Oliveira and his wife Creuza, friends from Casa de Chico Xavier, Fontana from União Espírita Mineira, Carlos Bacelli from Uberaba, Wanda Joviano also there, John Harley, Roberto Lúcio Vieira de Souza from the Medical Association of Minas Gerais and Hospital André Luiz in Belo Horizonte, and other families that were very close to Chico, like the Galves, Nena and Francisco Galves from Centro Espírita União in São Paulo, Chico Xavier's niece, that was very close friend of ours, also Lucia. Here, Chico Xavier in Uberaba, the gospel at home there. Here also in the Vila do Pássaro Preto, we can see where he distributed goods to the suffering, to the needy ones. Here with our dearest friend Elenir Meireles, from the founder of the Grupo Espírita da Fé, Spiritist Group of Faith in Niterói, Rio de Janeiro. Here Chico visiting the Hansinians people in Goiânia, the institution that every Christmas time he was there to visit with his friend Dona Elba, who was the director of this hospital, and also our dearest Maria Eunice Meireles from São Paulo, her husband Henrique, and also our dearest friend Wike Batista and his wife, that were Chico Xavier's friends and also companions at the Grupo Espírita da Prece in Uberaba. Dona Zilda was the one that was taking care of the pages while Chico Xavier received the messages. Here, Chico Xavier in Uberaba. It was Christmas and she was visiting our dearest Aparecida Conceição, who was the head of the hospital for the people, those children that had the illness of pemphigo, and some other related letters and notes from Chico Xavier. And here, when we inaugurated the Casa de Chico Xavier, it is a center of reference of his life and works in the city of Pedro Leopoldo, in the very place that he lived. He constructed his house himself with no one's help, just with his salary. And it took him 2 years to construct this little house in Pedro Leopoldo from 1946 to 1948. In January of 1948, he was living there. Nowadays is the institution that we direct there, and that has all the photographs and all the books, all the 540 books that he psychographic, and also the biographies books of Chico Xavier, and also books translated into other 35 languages. Here, his humble room, the one at the left, was his bedroom. And also his humble bathroom. It was there also that we closed the second meeting of Chico Xavier's friend in Pedro Leopoldo in 2009, and also the fourth meeting of Chico Xavier's friend that took place in Belo Horizonte, Brazil in 2011. And to close, I'd like to thank you all. And as Chico Xavier wrote, there is not anyone in history that substitute the person of Jesus in our lives. It is not our intention to mythify Chico Xavier. We just are having here an homage to him as a gratitude to his devoted legacy, to his unprecedented books, 540 books published until this day. A work of wisdom, a work of love, a work of fraternity and solidarity. Throughout all his 92 years of age, 75 of those he devoted and dedicated himself to mediumship with Spiritism and Jesus Christ, and became the bridge between two worlds, the words of higher spirits, the word of the light and blessing love towards our world, humble world on earth. May God retribute Chico Xavier with all the love that he deserves and all the wisdom he has conquered. May he receive all our gratitude and our remembrance with all our love. And to share our love with you also, we are presenting also a surprise. The composer and singer Maurício devoted himself to musicate all the works of Chico Xavier through poems that are published in the book Parnasos de Além Túmulo, Parnasos de Além Túmulo, or the Parnassus from Beyond. That was the first book that was published by Chico Xavier in 1st of June 1932, and it contains poems from Brazilian and Portuguese authors, poets, devoted to Spiritism and devoted to Jesus. And Mr. Maurício Gringo devoted himself to musicate all of them, and is offering us free of charge a Google Drive link with all his music, with these poems that are related to Christmas, and we offer you in the link below as a gift and as a surprise for this second world meeting of Jesus Friends with Chico Xavier and his legacy. And for now, we are going to see Mr. Maurício Gringo singing and playing the violin with a poem that I psychographed by the spirit of Auta de Souza in 2009, dedicated to Chico Xavier. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Permita que meu verso aqui registre a pura candidez de tuas ternuras, muito embora o sofrer das amarguras que o chão da terra impõe se administre. Por amor a Jesus, tu te apagaste em meio à ignorância deste mundo, sorvendo a taça escura do contraste, no esforço sincero e mais fecundo. Em vão a sombra espessa te envolveu, acenando com híbridas quimeras, estandarte das novas primaveras. Tua fé não vacilou e nem tremeu. Teu coração se fez em pouso santo a iluminar os dias da descrença, a enxugar o mais pungente pranto dos pequenos do mundo em dor intensa. A nova era, enfim, Jesus de novo, trazendo pão e paz, luz e agasalho, amar e esclarecer a alma do povo. É o ideal, teu lema de trabalho. Por isto eu canto o pobre do meu verso, sabendo que és tudo menos cisco. Para nós, tu serás sempre Francisco Cândido Xavier. Francisco Cândido Xavier.